Is also using an assumed name, and again we ask our friends in the media to respect the need for her to protect her family, and we finally call on Naira to testify.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Naira and I just came out of Kuwait. My mother and I were in Kuwait on August 2nd for a peaceful summer holiday. My older sister had a baby on July 29th, and we wanted to spend some time in Kuwait with her. I only pray that none of my 10th grade classmates had a summer vacation like I did. I may have wished sometime that I could be an adult, that I could grow up quickly. What I saw happen to the children of Kuwait and to my country has changed my life forever. It has changed the life of all Kuwaitis, young and old. We are children no more. My sister, with my 5-day-old nephew, traveled across the desert to safety. There was no milk available for the baby in Kuwait. They barely escaped when their car was stuck in the desert sand, and help came from Saudi Arabia. I stayed behind and wanted to do something for my country. The second week after an invasion, I volunteered at the Al-Adan hospital with 12 other women who wanted to help as well. I was the youngest volunteer. The other women were from 20 to 30 years old. While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of the incubators. Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor. It was horrifying. I could not help but think of my nephew, who, if born premature, might have died that day as well. After I left the hospital, some of my friends and I distributed flyers condemning the Iraqi invasion until we were warned we might be killed if the Iraqis saw us. The Iraqis have destroyed everything in Kuwait. They stripped the supermarkets of food, the pharmacies of medicine, the factories of medical supplies, ransacked our houses, and tortured neighbors and friends. I saw and talked to a friend of mine after his torture and released by the Iraqis. He is 22, but he looked as though he could have been an old man. The Iraqis dunked his head into a swimming pool until he almost drowned. They pulled out his fingernails and applied electric shock to sensitive private parts of his body. He was lucky to survive. If an Iraqi soldier was found dead in a neighborhood, they burned to the ground all the houses in the general vicinity and would not let firefighters come until only ash and rubble was left. The Iraqis were making fun of President Bush and verbally and physically abusing my family and me on our way out of Kuwait. We only did so because life in Kuwait became unbearable. They have forced us to hide, burn, or destroy everything identifying our country and our government. I want to emphasize that Kuwait is our mother and the Emir our father. We repeated this on the roofs of our houses in Kuwait until the Iraqis began shooting at us. And we shall repeat it again. I am glad I am 15, old enough to remember Kuwait before Saddam Hussein destroyed it, and young enough to rebuild it. Thank you.
ブッシュ大統領がホワイトハウスの大統領執務室からテレビ演説を始めたのが午前11時過ぎ、爆撃開始からおよそ3時間半後でした。
Our objectives are clear. Saddam Hussein's forces will leave Kuwait. The legitimate government of Kuwait will be restored to its rightful place, and Kuwait will once again be free. Some may ask, why act now? Why not wait? The answer is clear. The world could wait no longer. Saddam was warned over and over again to comply with the will of the United Nations. Leave Kuwait or be driven out. Saddam has arrogantly rejected all warnings. Instead, he tried to make this a dispute between Iraq and the United States of America. Well, he failed. That this will not be another Vietnam. And I repeat this here tonight. Our troops will have the best possible support in the entire world, and they will not be asked to fight with one hand tied behind their back. I'm hopeful that this fighting will not go on for long, and that casualties will be held to an absolute minimum.
イラクの反撃が始まった。戦車と歩兵部隊がサウジの国境の町カフジに侵攻を企てた。カフジには小規模のアメリカ海兵隊偵察部隊しかいなかった。攻撃は多国籍軍の手薄なところに対して仕掛けられた。海兵隊はすぐに火力支援を要請した。サウジアラビアは世界への石油供給源として重要な国であり、イラク軍の侵攻の脅威は深刻だった。地上部隊がすぐに増強されて戦闘に入ったが、実際に必要なのは大規模な航空支援だった。海兵隊がイラクの猛攻にさらされる中、コブラガンシップヘリコプターが援護に向かった。コブラはサウジ国境防衛隊とカタール兵が反撃できるよう攻撃するために招集されたのである。コブラがイラク軍の位置を探し出し、空軍の A-10 と海兵隊の AV-8B、OV-10 ブロンコの指示を受けながら攻撃を行った。海兵隊が突き止めたイラク軍の下方部隊は攻撃機により破壊された。最後にコブラがヘルファイヤとトーミサイルでイラク軍を掃討した。これらの兵器は鉄塔の監視所を精密に攻撃するのに使用された。近接航空支援機による最初の攻撃はイラク陸軍にとってはこれからやってくる
coalition waited 48 hours after the UN deadline expired, then began their attack. H hour was 0300 on January 17, 1991. That was when the first bomb would fall on Baghdad, and when Operation Desert Shield became Operation Desert Storm.
Support the strike package that went in through that period of time. There had never been any launch as big, a support package as big ever in the history of the Air Force that incorporated that many tankers.
In their opening attack, the Allies combined their stealth and precision technology, electronic warfare tactics, and the classical elements of mass and surprise.
They were able to top off their fuel at the last moment before heading on into the target area.
Although they numbered less than 3% of the coalition fighters, the F-117 struck almost a third of the targets on the first day. These stealth fighters led the attack, penetrating the Iraqi IADs unseen.
First actual bomb to fall on Iraq, that occurred at about 9 minutes before what we referred to as H hour.
An F-117 took out the southern IOC that controlled the reporting sites. Stealth fighters then penetrated the heavy air defenses around Baghdad.
We flew 32 F-117s right into downtown Baghdad in the first hour and 20 minutes.
Their next target was the principal telephone communication facility, also dubbed the AT&T building.
If you remember when the CNN guy was reporting and he went blank at H hour plus about 4 seconds, that was that bomb hitting the AT&T building.
At H hour, F-117s took out the ADOC in Baghdad and the IOCs and SOCs in the southern part of the country.
Air defenses and so forth.
Our goal was to put them into shock and destroy their ability to defend their homeland, primarily command and control and his air forces, and also the surface-to-air missiles.
I take the threat very seriously. I take the fact that he develops weapons of mass destruction very seriously. I remember the fact that he has invaded 2 countries before. I know for a fact that he's poisoned his own people. He doesn't believe in the worth of each individual. He doesn't believe in public dissent. I look forward to a dialogue. My fellow citizens, events in Iraq have now reached the final days of decision. For more than a decade, the United States and other nations have pursued patient and honorable efforts to disarm the Iraqi regime without war. That regime pledged to reveal and destroy all its weapons of mass destruction as a condition for ending the Persian Gulf War in 1991. Since then, the world has engaged in 12 years of diplomacy. We have passed more than a dozen resolutions in the United Nations Security Council. We have sent hundreds of weapons inspectors to oversee the disarmament of Iraq. Our good faith has not been returned to eliminate weapons of mass destruction. In recent days, some governments in the Middle East have been doing their part. They have delivered public and private messages urging the dictator to leave Iraq so that disarmament can proceed peacefully. He has thus far refused. All the decades of deceit and cruelty have now reached an end. Saddam Hussein and his sons must leave Iraq within 48 hours. Their refusal to do so will result in military conflict, commenced at a time of our choosing. For their own safety, all foreign nationals, including journalists and inspectors, should leave Iraq immediately. Many Iraqis can hear me tonight in a translated radio broadcast. If we must begin a military campaign, it will be directed against the lawless men who rule your country and not against you. As our coalition takes away their power, we will deliver the food and medicine you need. We will tear down the apparatus of terror and we will help you to build a new Iraq that is prosperous and free. In a free Iraq, there will be no more wars of aggression against your neighbors, no more poison factories, no more executions of dissidents, no more torture chambers and rape rooms. The tyrant will soon be gone. The day of your liberation is near. To eliminate weapons of mass destruction. Our government is on heightened watch against these dangers. Just as we are preparing to ensure victory in Iraq, we are taking further actions to protect our homeland. In recent days, American authorities have expelled from the country certain individuals with ties to Iraqi intelligence services. Among other measures, I have directed additional security at our airports and increased Coast Guard patrols of major seaports. The Department of Homeland Security is working closely with the nation's governors to increase armed security at critical facilities across America. Should enemies strike our country, they would be attempting to shift our attention with panic and weaken our morale with fear. In this, they would fail. No act of theirs can alter the course or shake the resolve of this country. We are a peaceful people, yet we're not a fragile people, and we will not be intimidated by thugs and killers. If our enemies dare to strike us, they and all who have aided them will face fearful consequences. We are now acting because the risks of inaction would be far greater.
انفجارات متواصلة عبد الرحمن. وهي صواريخ تنطلق مرة أخرى. انفجارات.
لا نريد أن نتحدث عن ذلك الصورة.
Beneath all of this, emergency teams raced across the city.
This is Tango 1. Moving to the route slow.
Eat your heart out, Blammer.
6-1, Deuce 8 on target.
Shot.
Get down. Where is it? Where's about 150? Roger, target marked by Islid.
Roger, that's fucking cool.
Open area. Open area northeast of the traffic circle. Over. You got hot? Roger.
hell was that?
It was press.
That fucking hurt.
Good.
Whoa!
イラク総選挙を翌日に控えた14日、アメリカのブッシュ大統領は演説を行い、イラク戦争の根拠となった情報の間違いを明確に認めました。
And it is true that much of the intelligence turned out to be wrong. As president, I'm responsible for the decision to go into Iraq.
ブッシュ大統領が実際にはなかった大量破壊兵器の存在など情報の間違いを明確に認めたのはこれが初めてのことです。しかしその一方でサダム・フセインは脅威であり、旧フセイン政権
About 225 miles southeast of Baghdad is an area with historical and religious significance, but the only people who get to see it are American troops. Reporter Melanie Wilkes explains.
It's one of Iraq's most famous archaeological sites, rising from the desert near Nasiriyah in the southeast. The Ziggurat of Ur, a massive 4,000-year-old temple pyramid, and the surrounding ruins of an ancient Sumerian city. The ziggurat was almost completely off limits to the public under Saddam's regime. Back then, tour guide Daif Masen didn't get much business.
During time of Saddam, he made the tourists difficult to come for Iraq. He putting checkpoint and putting Iraqi soldiers in it. When they came here, also not picture here and not picture there.
The only regular tourists now are busloads of U.S. soldiers from nearby Camp Adder on a sightseeing excursion they'll never forget.
I heard about in college classes, but I never thought I'd get to actually be on the ziggurat at Ur.
I'm actually in school to be a history teacher. I'm a senior in college right now, so this means everything to me, to be able to show my students for the next 30 years.
In the shadow of the ziggurat lies a place that some consider even more significant. This is believed to be the home of the prophet Abraham, a central figure in 3 major religions.
Muslims, Jews, and Christians all claim Abraham as their patriarch.
I was raised in a Christian home, and so I studied Abraham for many years. So to be in the place that he walked and to be able to touch the walls of the place that is purported to be his home is just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me.
A UN report accuses U.S. troops of badly damaging ancient ruins in Babylon during the 2003 invasion, but the U.S. is widely credited with preserving and protecting the ziggurat. American advisors are trying to help the Iraqi government excavate the site and open it to the public. Still, infrastructure and security will have to improve before the area becomes a viable destination for Western tourists.
No, it won't be accessible to anyone, probably, of us anytime soon, but to Middle Eastern people and North African people, and yes, absolutely yes.
And someday, Iraqis hope to share this archaeological treasure with the entire world.
This is for Iraq, for America, all the countries in the world, because this civilization, always the civilization for all the world, or the holy place is not for one country.
At the Ziggurat of Ur, Melanie Wilkes, Fox News.